There is a reason some people push forward while others pull back, a reason some can act in the absence of motivation while others wait their entire lives to feel ready. It's not just mindset. It's not just environment, it's biology. Dopamine is often misunderstood. Most people think it's the chemical of pleasure, the rush you feel when you win, when you eat, when you succeed. But in truth, dopamine is not about the reward, it's about the pursuit. It is the fuel that drives you to act, the neurochemical signal that says, go, move, push forward. It's the spark behind every act of discipline, the fire behind every step into discomfort, the divine force that separates stagnation from transformation. When you learn to release dopamine, not just when you arrive, but while you strive, everything changes. This is not theory, this is biology. This is how your nervous system was wired by design. The pursuit of meaning, the hunger for purpose, the desire to overcome, these are not abstract concepts. They are written in the architecture of your brain, encoded in pathways that fire with anticipation and hunger, not just reward. The more you associate effort with that internal surge of dopamine, the more resilient, focused, and unstoppable you become. This is how warriors are made. This is how the mind becomes a weapon sharpened by will and not by comfort. But most people worship the finish line. They wait for the hit of dopamine at the end. When the job is done, the goal is reached, the world claps. That system is weak. That system fails when no one is watching, when progress is slow, when life tests your soul. The brain is not meant to be fed only by outcomes. It is meant to be fed by movement, by direction, by the tension of becoming. When you train your mind to crave effort, when the grind becomes the glory, you transcend emotion. You begin to live in command. This is not about hype. It's not about screaming affirmations or chasing highs. This is sacred. This is neurological alignment with purpose. You were not built to coast. You were not designed for passivity. Your very biology, your wiring, your spiritual fire is ignited through challenge, through effort, through forward motion. And the tool that carries that divine signal is dopamine, but it must be harnessed. It must be trained to surge not after you've succeeded, but while you sweat, while you strain, while you rise again and again through adversity. You can manipulate this system consciously. You can condition your brain to drip dopamine while you're buried in the reps, while you're deep in the study, while you're exhausted and yet still moving. That's the reframe. That's the breakthrough. You stop waiting for reward to feel alive, and you start feeling alive because you're working. Because you're aligned with the path, not just the prize. And once that switch flips, once your brain believes the process itself is the blessing, motivation becomes relentless. You stop needing to be pushed. You begin pulling your own destiny. Neuroplasticity is the divine gift written into the design of the human brain, the ability to change, to adapt, to rebuild, and to become something entirely new. It is the biological proof that your past does not imprison your future. It is not philosophy. It is not just hope. It is the physical reconfiguration of your nervous system, the rewiring of circuits, the reshaping of identity through action and attention. Every thought you repeat, every habit you build, every decision you follow through on, those aren't just choices. They are architectural commands to your brain, carving new pathways, strengthening new patterns, demolishing old strongholds. Motivation is not a mysterious force that descends upon the chosen. It is the product of plasticity. It is what happens when the circuits of drive are activated over and over again until they become your default. Your biology is not static. Your brain is not fixed. You are not stuck. You are moldable from the inside out. The brain learns what you teach it. The more you act in alignment with discipline, the more it encodes discipline into your very identity. The more you reach for effort instead of ease, the more it etches effort into your default operating system. This is the difference between those who wait to feel inspired and those who act in spite of feeling nothing. One waits for emotion, the other trains emotion. One seeks comfort, the other trains resilience. And resilience is not built by reading about it. It is built by enduring, by pushing, by rising through pain with focus and intentionality. Every time you override the pull of distraction and step into the difficult, you are training your brain. You are hardening your circuits for war. You are preparing your soul for victory. That is neuroplasticity. That is spiritual warfare through biology. Your habits are not just behaviors. They are signals to your brain that tell it what matters. When you prioritize silence over noise, effort over ease, presence over pleasure, your brain listens. It doesn't ask why, it adapts. The circuits of distraction begin to weaken. The circuits of focus begin to strengthen. The synapses that once pulled you toward excuses begin to lose their grip, and in their place grows something unshakable, the neural network of a disciplined, dangerous human being. Plasticity doesn't care where you start. It only responds to repetition and intensity. You don't have to be gifted. You have to be consistent. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be intentional. The brain is like fire. It can burn you or it can forge you. But you must choose how you feed it. You must decide what kind of person you are training yourself to become, moment by moment, thought by thought, action by action. Because every one of those moments is laying down track, and one day soon, the train of your life will run automatically on those tracks, either toward purpose or toward regret. Linking motivation to external rewards creates fragility. It builds a life, a mind, a nervous system that only moves when there is applause, only strives when there is a trophy, only endures when there is a visible payoff. That system will break. It will crumble the moment the world goes silent, the moment the crowd walks away, the moment results are delayed. Because it was never rooted in the internal, it was wired to chase the fleeting, to depend on dopamine spikes that vanish like vapor the second comfort disappears. The person who only moves for a prize is a slave to circumstance, not a master of destiny. The brain was not made to be loyal to outcomes. It was made to respond to patterns, to rhythms, to repetition. If you teach your brain that dopamine only comes when you win, you've built a house on sand. But if you teach it that dopamine comes from showing up, from pushing, from training in silence, from suffering with purpose, then you've built a foundation in stone. You've created a mind that doesn't bend in the storm, a will that doesn't waver in the dark, a heart that beats in rhythm with mission, not mood. When you train your system to receive satisfaction from the pursuit itself, you free yourself from the tyranny of results. You stop needing validation. You stop checking if it's working every 5 minutes, because the work is the win. The effort is the exaltation. That's not delusion, that's biology. That's what happens when the dopamine system is anchored not in reward but in process. And that kind of motivation doesn't just survive adversity, it feeds on it. It grows stronger under pressure. It becomes immune to failure because failure is no longer a signal to quit. It's a trigger to evolve. You see this principle in every great life, the warrior who trains alone long before the battle, the artist who creates in obscurity, not for applause but for the purity of the craft, the leader who builds with integrity even when no one is watching. Their fuel is not fame, not status, not even results. Their fuel is alignment. Their brain has been wired to crave right action, to hunger for forward motion, to feel reward not when they finish, but when they grind. That is the path to unstoppable drive. That is what separates the uncommon from the average. Not genetics, not luck, wiring, and this wiring can be yours. You can take the fragile framework of reward, dependent motivation, and shatter it. You can rebuild it into something eternal, something forged in sacrifice, something rooted in effort itself. When your system is trained to love the climb more than the peak, there is no peak too high. When the process becomes sacred, the outcome becomes inevitable. Your state of motivation is not random. It is not determined by how much sleep you got or whether you feel like it today. It is orchestrated by systems, real, physical systems within your body and brain. Systems that are influenced every moment by how you breathe, how you sit, how you move your eyes, how you hold your posture. These are not just behaviors. They are commands to your nervous system. They are signals that tell your brain whether you are under threat or in control, passive or active, retreating or advancing. And the brain responds accordingly, not with thoughts first, but with chemistry, with readiness, with fire. The human visual system is directly linked to circuits of arousal and action. When you narrow your vision, when you lock your gaze forward with intensity and intention, you activate a cascade through the midbrain that ramps up focus, raises dopamine, and prepares you for forward movement. It is a primal signal. You are telling your brain, we hunt now, we pursue. But when your eyes wander, when you stare downward, when your gaze is unfocused, your system softens. The state of motivation dims because the body is telling the brain, stand down. This is not a mindset problem. It is a miscommunication between body and brain. Posture is not just physical, it is neurological. Upright posture with the chest open and shoulders back tells your system, I'm prepared, I'm present, I'm capable. It literally enhances alertness and changes how your brain filters the world. But the moment you collapse your frame, shoulders forward, head down, the body is signaling defeat. The same goes for breathing. Shallow, rapid breaths tell the brain, we are in panic, we are in retreat. But deep, deliberate, rhythmic breaths send the opposite message, we are in control, we are anchored. And your brain shifts into a state of readiness, of action, of motivation. These signals are ancient, they are embedded in your biology, and yet we overlook them. We think motivation is only about willpower, about emotion. But your biology sets the foundation. If you align your posture, your vision, your breath, you are giving your brain the raw materials it needs to produce drive. You are shaping your state before a single thought enters your mind. That is power. That is design. That is living as the architect of your inner world, not a victim of random moods and invisible tides. And focus, the ability to attend to one thing deeply, to shut down noise, to pursue with clarity, is not a gift. It is a signal, dependent state. You can train it, you can command it, you can build the circuits of focus through repetition and intensity. But the starting point is physical. You align the body to trigger the brain, you shift the body into a state of alert determination, and the mind follows. You want to change your life. Don't wait to feel ready. Command readiness. Build the state from the ground up, through the very systems God encoded into your flesh and breath. Daily protocols are not trends. They are not hacks. They are sacred systems that align your biology with your mission. And among them, few are more powerful and foundational than the ones that reset and regulate your dopamine system, light exposure, cold exposure, and non-sleep deep rest. These aren't soft tools. They are weapons. Tools of spiritual warfare embedded in your nervous system. Tools that, when used consistently, do not just shift your mood. They reshape your brain, your discipline, your drive. Because when your dopamine system is healthy, you are dangerous. You wake up with fire. You pursue without needing a reason. You press forward when the world sleeps. Morning sunlight is the first command to your biology. When your eyes receive natural light, not artificial, not filtered, within the first hour of waking, it triggers a cascade in the brainstem. Cortisol rises, but not as stress, as a wake-up signal. A dopamine pulse follows. Your internal clock resets. Your entire system locks into alignment with time, energy, and forward motion. You anchor your day in readiness. You don't drift through the fog of dopamine depletion. You rise into order, into clarity, into biological preparedness. It's not optional, it's foundational. Then there's cold exposure, not because it's trendy, but because it unlocks a surge of dopamine that doesn't spike and crash. It climbs and sustains. A single session can raise dopamine by over 250% and keep it elevated for hours. But more than that, cold is a test. It's the daily rejection of comfort. It's you choosing stress voluntarily, and when you do, your nervous system learns to obey. You train it to stay calm in chaos. You build circuits of resilience, of command, of relentless action under discomfort. The cold teaches your body to honor the mind and your mind to master the flesh. Sleep deep rest NSDR is the recalibration. It is how you restore what the fight has cost. 10 to 30 minutes of deliberate, structured rest, where the body sleeps but the mind remains aware, activates neural circuits that reset dopamine sensitivity. This isn't laziness, it's recovery for warriors. It's how you build endurance over time, because motivation that burns hot but fast is useless. You need sustainable fire. You need to protect the system that drives you, and NSDR does exactly that. It repairs, replenishes, and re-anchors your brain for the next surge of effort. These tools are simple, but they are not easy. They require consistency, discipline, reverence, because when you practice them daily, you are not just managing stress or boosting mood. You are entering into alignment with how your system was designed by the Creator Himself. You are stepping into a rhythm that was built into the architecture of your biology. And through that rhythm, you gain authority over your state, your energy, your path. You stop reacting to life and start dictating it. You don't just feel motivated, you become motivation incarnate. Avoiding distraction isn't about willpower. It's not about gritting your teeth and hoping you can resist the next hit of dopamine from your phone, the next wave of noise from the world. Distraction is not a moral failure, it is a neurological pattern. It is a circuit reinforced through repetition, attention, and reward. And like any circuit, it can be rewired. You are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of modern chaos. You are the architect of your brain's attention, but only if you take the role seriously, only if you step into the battle not with emotion, but with structure. With design, the brain doesn't care about what's good for you. It cares about what's repeated, what's rewarded. If you train it to expect novelty, to jump from task to task, to chase stimulation, then it obeys. It becomes restless. It cannot hold focus because you have taught it not to. But if you train it with intention to stay, to dig deep, to work without feedback, to attend without a hit of reward, it changes. The distractions don't disappear, they lose their power because you have built something stronger, a nervous system that is not addicted to reaction, but conditioned for purpose. This is not abstract, it is physical. Every time you shift focus from deep work to a notification, you activate a cost. Neurologically, it takes minutes to refocus, and the brain releases a small hit of dopamine for the switch, reinforcing the habit. But if you resist the urge, even for a moment, you send a different signal. You teach the brain to you sustained attention. That's how the reconditioning begins, through tiny acts of resistance, through small victories over your own impulses. That's where freedom begins, not in the big moments, but in the decision to remain where your soul is needed most. Structure is the key. You cannot hope your way out of distraction. You must design your environment and your routines to favor depth. Eliminate optional chaos. Create time blocks that are sacred. Train in silence. Use physical triggers, posture, breath, stillness to anchor your body so the mind can follow. The body is the gatekeeper. Stillness of flesh leads to stillness of thought. You train the vessel to reflect the mission. You train the system to obey the call. This is war, but the battlefield is not outside. It is your own mind. And the weapon is design. You do not conquer distraction by fighting it. You conquer it by starving it, by feeding attention instead, by wiring the brain to crave progress over novelty, purpose over stimulation, creation over consumption. When you do that day after day, without applause, without reward, you emerge with something most men never touch: control. Real control, and from that control, all motivation flows, all clarity rises, all greatness is born.